You can see this today, where he constantly stresses time working against him and his output of content on YouTube, to the point where some have even memed on him for it.
There doesn't exist enough time in the year to keep doing a full 31 review marathon.
Honestly, like the more I get older, the more I start to feel it.
In his many commentary tracks that he made with his wonderful mustache.
Yeah, that mustache does not look good on him, I'm gonna be honest here.
Now, one of my personal favorite videos on the entire Cinemassacre channel is this making of video where James dives into the process of making this movie during his summer break when he was just a teenager.
I do know for a fact that he has a big passion for 1920s, 1930s monster movies, especially the Universal ones like Frankenstein, Dracula, The Mummy, etc., etc. And also he's a big fan of kaiju movies like Godzilla and King Kong. He's actually one of my big inspirations of how I got into Godzilla. What is up, Drum Alert Nation? It's I, LizardBrains, and let's get right into the video. I'm just kidding, it's just me, guys. Anyways, today we're reacting to another video. This time we're gonna be reacting to a James Rolfe video. It's not actually James Rolfe who made this. It's Firewood Media again. His newest video. We're reacting to his newest video, and it's about Angry Video Game Nerd, aka James Rolfe. The video is called The Films That Made James Rolfe, a Cinemassacre deep dive. What? Oh, my voice is being messed up right now. Anyways, whatever. We're just rolling with this right now. Anyways, Firewood Media did tease this video at the end of his Chris Stuckman video. I did heard that his video got demonetized, and that's unfortunate. I hope that he can get that sorted out right now. I did watch his update video on it. I didn't bother reacting to it because I don't know. It was like 8 minutes long. I don't know. I didn't really care. I didn't really care much to react to it. I was like, all right, yeah. I hope you get demonetized back. That's all I wish for. Especially the fact that it was a really good video and it was one of his more successful videos. So let's hope that he gets his video monetized again. Anyways, I'm gonna react to another one of his. The video will be linked down below, and let's get watching. In 3, 2, 1, play.
While most people know James Rolfe as the angry video game nerd, I've always found him to be a fascinating independent filmmaker. He grew up in a time where he was forced to edit his own movies on VHS, and didn't have the luxury of using top-of-the-line computers, cameras, and editing software. As a result,
yeah, angry video game nerd, James Rolfe, he was a old school guy. I really liked his content from back in the day, and yeah, and the fact that he's been on the platform for like actually I think now it's like 20 years now, at least over 20 years. I don't remember exactly which year he started. I think it was 2004, 2006. No, it was because he had a website during 2004, 2005-ish. And then he didn't publish his videos until like 2 years later to 2006, because that's when YouTube started to pop off. Or at least like it was still like a niche thing. But that's when like people would starting to discover it. Yeah. It's very interesting seeing like his growth from over the years, especially now. Like he's been doing this for like 2 decades now. It's very scary. The fact that he's basically as old as like, the fact that the Nintendo Wii is as old now than when he first started making those videos is very scary. And it's very scary and very time's moving fast, guys. Time's moving fast. I remember when I discovered him. I don't remember exactly when. I think it was like 2012-ish. I discovered him not through Angry Video Game Nerd, but through Monster Madness, when he did his Godzilla-a-thon deep dive, when he was reviewing all the Godzilla movies back to back. Oh, it wasn't like much of a deep dive. It was like those videos were like 4 or 5 minutes long, and that was it. That was it. But he reviewed like all of them like within like the month of October, so that was like shocking for like the time. So yeah, I'm really happy I'm gonna be reacting to this video. I really like Firewood Media, and I thought that his Chris Stuckman video was really good.
you get some really scrappy short films that can tell us a lot about who James is as a person and as a creative.
It's just like in every horror movie. Just when you think the thing is dead, it comes back one more time. But you know what? I'm not afraid of you.
That being said, though, his filmography is very confusing. He claims to have made over 500 movies, but when you
500 movies? No way. No way he made 500 movies. 500 movies. I think he meant to say like 500 short films, which is probably more realistically. I mean, some of these are like in the 20 minutes long, 30 minutes long-ish. This one's 19, so it's probably like much more different than what he's like leaving on, but who knows? Let's see like all of them. Well, maybe not all of them. I thought this video was gonna cover all of them, but it's gonna cover like probably some of his best ones.
Actually look at the list, the vast majority of them are just AVGN episodes or random YouTube videos.
Yeah, I kind of thought so. That some of them are AVGN videos. It's weird to call like an AVGN video like a short film, because I think now these days we're so accustomed towards referring to a YouTube video as a YouTube video and not a short film. But I think back in the day, that's why James still refers to his AVGN videos as kind of like films or short films, because at the end of the day, like I don't know, like James Rolfe to me, like I don't know, like I sometimes forget that I always forget that he's technically a filmmaker, because he went to film school like back in his 20s, and he didn't really really plan the fact that his YouTube channel will just take off, his internet career, and then all of a sudden it took off and this became like his job basically. So it's very interesting seeing, you know, an older person basically, maybe not older person, yeah, an older person I would say, like someone like him like referred to his videos as short films. I don't know. I think he's a little old. Probably because he's probably more old school, and he refers to a lot of his videos as short films, even though like to us, like now these days we refer to these as like all of these, well, most of these as like, yeah, these are YouTube videos.
I think most people consider these to just be YouTube videos as opposed to a proper film and a filmography.
Yeah, I consider these as like videos, but I guess since like James Rolfe is more of an older guy, he probably refers to these as like short films. But like, yeah, it's probably like a generational thing. I can understand that, I guess, because he didn't like, I don't think he always planned that this series to take off as much as it did. He probably planned it to be like something like for fun, just to post it, because that's what the internet was like during like the late 2000s. It was just kind of like something for fun, and no one like expected this to be like a career path that you can take, but it eventually did. People can manage to get paid for it, and people made a lot of money off of it. Eventually, some people at least.
But semantics aside, I wanted to take a look at James's filmography from a more streamlined approach. So today I'll be exclusively covering some of his short films. Without wasting any more time, let's get into a pretty pointless video essay where I overanalyze the films of James Rolfe.
Organizing the early films of James Rolfe. Ooh. Chapter 1, The Six Snicks? That sounded wrong. Flicks.
The Six Snicks Flicks are a collection of short films by James that he made during his adolescence, with the last installment being finished when he was 18 years old. Looking at this...
Really? I never heard of any of these. I never heard of any of this. Then again, I haven't like watched...
Six Snicks Flicks themselves. The narrative arc is a very simple premise involving an ancient warlock returning to possess the living, but with the way that these films are structured, it becomes more complex as it progresses along. James describes the series as the longest-running Cinemassacre project prior to The Nerd, serving as a documented transition from childhood hobbyism to a more structured approach to filmmaking. You could tell a lot of hard work went into making these movies, and it's very clear why, even as a full-grown adult, he is so damn proud of them. James treats the progression of the series as a metaphor for the accelerating pace of life, specifically through the recurring gag where the intervals of the Warlock's return shorten with every sequel.
Interesting. I never heard of these. Then again, I haven't watched I haven't paid attention to James Rolfe's career for a while, for the past 4 or 5 years. I remember there was the last time I really paid attention to angry video game, or at least James Rolfe's creator, is when he had that plagiarism controversy back 4 years ago, I think. No, I think it was 5 years ago. Anyways, I don't remember. Anyways, yeah, if you don't know what happened to his what happened to the plagiarism controversy, it wasn't James Rolfe who plagiarized. It was someone, I think it was a writer who wrote a bunch of Monster Madness videos, and they just plagiarized all, and their entire work was just plagiarized. It was just it wasn't a good look for James, to be honest, because he was the one who hired him, and he's supposed to be the one who reviewing the movies. Why you're getting a writer to write all your reviews? It just doesn't seem it just seems very bizarre.
So in between the first movie and the second movie, the Warlock doesn't come back until 3 years. And then by the next movie, it's 3 months. And then by the time we get to the end of the series, it's 3 seconds. In a way, it kind of mirrors how time seems to move faster as a person ages. I would go as far as to say that this element reflects a specific kind of temporal anxiety that James Rolfe articulates as a fundamental truth of getting older. You can see this today, where he constantly stresses time working against him and his output of content on YouTube, to the point where some have even memed on him for it.
There doesn't exist enough time in the year to keep doing a full 31 review marathon.
Because honestly, I just don't have the time.
Time sucks. Nobody likes time.
It really
Yeah, I remember some snarkers make fun of him for always bringing up time. And honestly, the more I get older, the more I start to feel it. Obviously I'm not as busy as he, but the older I get, the more or less time I have in my schedule where I can do fun stuff. I'm just lucky enough that I managed to fit in this YouTube channel, because I do want to build this YouTube channel up into kind of a second job for me. And for myself, and unfortunately, if you're not getting paid for this, it's kind of just, you're just doing this for a hobby. Right now, this is more so a hobby for me. But if I don't get if there was no pay option, I probably would just abandon it after a few years. And even I guess I kind of did over the past 3 years since I joined YouTube. I start projects, I abandon them, I delay them, because it's really just a hobby for me, more so than it is something that I can really make money off. But yeah, I can understand some of James Rolfe's feelings. I'm not trying to justify some his controversies and his not so great output in his past, but I can understand unfortunately, when you get older, you start to feel time is not on your hands comparatively when you're younger.
It does seem like this fear of time slipping away has haunted him for his entire life, even when he was a little kid making movies just like this.
There wasn't time to do another take. There wasn't options. You had to shoot it as fast as you could and move on.
It kind of informs you as a viewer of this sense of creative constipation that James Rolfe felt while trying to wrap up the series. In his many commentary tracks that he made with his wonderful mustache, he describes the later films as a...
Yeah, that mustache does not look good on him. I'm gonna be honest here. That mustache... Let me go back.
Tracks that he made with his wonderful mustache.
Yeah, I don't know. James Rolfe with a mustache just looks so bizarre. It looks so weird. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know. I think he should stick with clean shave. I did saw that he grew a beard and now he's wearing like a beard in his AVGN videos, and I don't know, I kind of dig the beard even though like it kind of looks weird in AVGN videos. I don't know, maybe because I'm so used to James Rolfe having like a clean shaved face that it just like seeing facial hair on him just seems a little bit weird. But I started to like the beard a lot more. I think now these days he's starting to grow. The beard's starting to grow on me a little bit, and yeah, I don't know. I think I accept it. I accept more than him just having a mustache. I don't know. The mustache kind of looks a little strange.
He describes the later films as a weight that he had to drag toward the finish line, trapped by a completionist instinct that wouldn't let him abandon the Warlock for the more sophisticated ideas that he was developing in his head. He felt like he was tied down to something that he made years prior and had to finish it because that's just what you do. And again, I'm not trying to play armchair psychologist here by any means, but part of me does feel like that sentiment is still with him today with The Nerd, where you can definitely tell at points he is burnt out and he clearly has bigger and better passion projects that he...
Yeah, I could definitely tell that he wanted to end Angry Video Game Nerd a long time ago. Now these days, I feel like he kind of like accept that. Unfortunately, now people just kind of know him as this, and I don't know. I feel like AVGN kind of became like what the Simpsons basically like became like the internet's version of the Simpsons, where like it's no longer now it's past its prime, and it kind of went for like a low point, and now we just kind of grown to accept it that it exists, unfortunately, and it's just gonna keep continuing, which kind of sucks because I think James really wants to do other different things, but he's just so stuck with Angry Video Game Nerd because that's what people know him for, and that's why people go watch him for. So it's kind of a little bit of a shame, especially like I think some of the best recent AVGN episodes are like the ones that are trying to do something interesting. Like I remember this one episode, this was like I think a few years back, where like he did like a one take where like I don't remember exactly which video it was, but it was like a one take where all of it was like one take for like 10 minutes straight, and it was very impressive, very cool. And I don't know, I didn't remember the video out at all, like outside the one take thing. So yeah, I wish it was kind of like its own thing. And I think also like the reason why I think the Angry Video Game Nerd really the Angry Video Game Nerd movie really kind of destroyed any potential that he could make something different and something unique. I don't know, I don't feel like I feel like doing the Angry Video Game Nerd movie was kind of like a huge mistake. If that, I'm not sure like how people feel about that, but I personally think it was a kind of a huge mistake because it could have been a huge opportunity for him to make a complete original movie just about him. But I feel like he got like very cold feet about it and just wanted to do something safe. So I was like, hey, I had this popular Angry Video Game Nerd. It's been going on for like the better part of almost a decade. I'm just gonna release a movie just based on the Angry Video Game Nerd, and people are gonna see it because it's Angry Video Game Nerd. It's a pre-established like brand. And yeah, I don't know. To me, like I wish he did like something original instead of like an Angry Video Game Nerd movie, because I think it could have been could have been interesting there, but it's like I don't know. That's personally my thoughts.
He wants to pursue. But of course, your cash cow is the Nerd. And for him as a kid, the cash cow was Snicks. Now that's not a slight at the Nerd or James or anything. Again, this is just a fun little read into who he is as a person through his early work. Finishing the final film at 18 years old became like a necessary exorcism for James, because it allowed him to dump the accumulated baggage of his childhood filmography so he could start over with a clean slate.
In the movies, my character is always being haunted by Snicks and wants to be rid of him. In the same way, the series haunted me. They were like a burden. I wanted to get them done so I can move on to the next movies.
You can watch him physically grow up across the 6 entries, moving from a kid playing with a camcorder to a young man mastering VCR editing and complex continuity. The Warlock became a fixed point that allowed him to measure his own evolution, proving that the struggle to finish a project is often more revealing than the project itself, which is sort of going to be the crux of this entire video. When everything is all
Interesting. I think now, like, you're showing me, I think I vaguely remember some of this, but I do remember, like, James Rolfe talk about, like, some of his earlier works, but it's kind of like a blur now because it's been, like, so long since I kept up with his content. Like, I kept up here and there, but, like, nothing, like, anything, like, huge about it. So, very interesting relearning kind of, like, some of this old stuff. Or at least I think, because it's been, like, such a long time since I ever kept up with, like, him as a content creator. It's also really interesting. Oh god, that mustache does not look great.
All said and done, he walked away from the series, not because he still cared about the plot, he clearly didn't, but because he had finally outgrown the person who needed to tell this story. If you're interested in hearing more about these movies in a very in-depth manner, then I would recommend taking a look at a podcast by Red Cow Arcade and Hat Hole Home Video, where they go extremely in-depth on each installment in an almost procedural manner. It's a great video.
It was just an ordinary hot weekend in May 1996. I had nothing to do. I was bored out of my mind. I was just sitting in my room listening to the droning sounds of lawnmowers. And then I decided to get up and do something. The result, a night of total terror.
1996's A Night of Total Terror is one of
Jet to A Night of a Total Terror.
James's,
Terror.
I would say,
Total Terror. Oh, I'm so stupid.
most important films. Now, one of my personal favorite videos on the entire Cinemassacre channel is this making of video where James dives into the process of making this movie during his summer break when he was just a teenager. You can tell that this particular project holds a special place in his heart, as there's an undeniable sense of care and thought that went into every aspect of it. The whole movie serves as a tribute to silent horror films from the 1910s and the 1920s, a genre that, if you know anything about James, you know he has an immense passion for.
Yes, I do know for a fact that he has a big passion for 1920s, 1930s monster movies, especially the Universal ones like Frankenstein, Dracula, The Mummy, etc., etc. I know. And also he's a big fan of kaiju movies like Godzilla and King Kong. He's actually one of my big inspirations of how I got into Godzilla, especially with his Monster Madness series, Godzilla-thon series. That was like a huge, like, big, like, inspiration for me, especially as a fan, because there was I'm trying to remember, like, back in the day, like, there were any, like, huge YouTubers who were big Godzilla fans. There was and James Rolfe was, like, the only one it was like kind of like the only one that was kind of like a Godzilla fan. So seeing like James Rolfe in his status, like, he was like a big inspiration of me just get into like older school movies, especially like monster movies, like, especially like that was when I was starting to gain like a passion towards.
His palpable love for silent horror bleeds into every frame. Throughout the film, you can see little nods to those classic movies with their eerie atmosphere and expressionistic visuals. But let's be honest here, the pacing is mind-numbingly slow to the point of being almost painfully boring at times. Luckily, there's a 2006 re-edit that trims the original 30-minute runtime down to a much more digestible 3 minutes. The fact that the movie still makes complete sense in its abbreviated form is pretty telling about how much excess filler there was in the original cut. Again, despite its flaws, the movie has some genuinely interesting moments. It's clear that even in these early efforts, James was beginning to find his creative voice. Sure, the pacing is rough, but you can see flashes of his potential as a filmmaker. The black and white cinematography, for example, works surprisingly well. It lends the whole thing an eerie, nostalgic quality that's kind of fitting for a silent film homage, even if it is an amateur effort made by a teenager shot on VHS. But that analog damage and grain, I think, adds a lot to it. Again, this is going to sound wild and a total reach, but there are some moments here that honestly remind me of some of the later entries in the Mandela catalog. Maybe that's just because it's an analog, black and white film, but I mean, come on. Now, on the other hand, much like the 6 Snicks flicks, this film is mostly unwatchable. Again, I'm sorry. The visuals are cool, but buried within this unpolished exterior are some fascinating glimpses of the filmmaker that James would become.
Now, prepare yourself. A night of total terror.
1999.
Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I would say I kind of was aware that he was very much he very much was a big fan of like old school monster movies, but seeing like some of his early works before AVGN is very interesting, especially how much inspiration he was with those early monster movies.
1999's The Head Incident is a fragmented supernatural procedural where 2 patients describe a shared delusion of a murderous disembodied head and a mysterious figure in black. It operates as a nesting doll of narratives, jumping from psychiatric evaluations into the actual events within a dilapidated house, eventually folding back on itself to reveal that the doctors are just as susceptible to the infection as the victims. The reliance on a literal dummy head and a masked antagonist really shows that James is someone who prioritizes the physical presence of a monster over your traditional character development, where I don't know, the monster represents grief, a la A24 movies. Instead, I see a direct lineage here from the practical effects of universal horror and the slasher boom of the 80s, where the primary goal is the construction of a tangible scare, using whatever household props or local locations are within reach. Whether intentional or not, I think The Head Incident reveals a filmmaker who views filmmaking as a way to physically manifest a nightmare, focusing on the craftsmanship of the monster as opposed to trying to modernize the genre or deconstruct anything for a contemporary audience. This is just James making a flat-out horror movie, and I love it for that.
Interesting. Whoa. That's really interesting, especially, is this like a silent film or something that he's done? Like, it's not gonna be that surprising because he was a big fan of like those old school, like not early 1920s, 1930s movies, and those were like definitely did not have sound, or well, some of them have sound, of course. I'm not that much of a noob. I'm not like a noob. I know some of this shit. I remember.
As a big Cinemassacre fan, I can appreciate James's work in context, but this one, like the other ones that I've talked about already, definitely has its issues. The acting is really bad, and again, that's expected.
Yeah, that's kind of expected. It's kind of expected, especially for someone who is obviously is very new to making movies. Especially, you're not gonna get looking for like the best acting. If anything, like it should be like it should be like there has like a kind of like a learning experience to know how to make movies. I used to have been someone who kind of really wanted to make movies. Then I realized like how difficult it is, especially with people around. Like some people just don't want to be filmed on camera, and you ask them, it's like, hey, we're going to film on camera, and they're like, no, I don't want to be on camera, and when they do, they're just so uncomfortable. They just don't know how to act on camera. It's like something, and it's like you really need to get people who will be comfortable with that stuff. It's very so unfortunately it's more rare than it actually seems like. Some people just don't feel comfortable being filmed on camera
For something made by high schoolers, but I do think that the visuals...
Oh, especially high schools. High schoolers are just... We all have our cringe moments. We all are cringe. We're all very cringe.
...are where The Head Incident shines its brightest. Despite the rough edges, there's genuinely impressive imagery here, and you can tell James is really starting to find himself as a filmmaker, even at just 19 years old. It's clear where his influences are coming from, but it still feels like a big leap forward for him. This is also where we kind of get that ever-present theme in...
Oh, I remember this video. Oh no. Oh yeah, that was also a really fun series. That I remember some series that he made. I think it was Board James. Board James was the one. Board James was probably one of my personal favorites. That one was really cool, especially the bucket one, the bucket episode. Like that one was fucking that ironically freaked me out when I was a kid. That one freaked me out. I don't know why, it just freaked me out. Like it was just I don't know, it was just so scary for me, especially like someone who was like 13 14 years old at the time. I don't know, that video really fucking freaked me out when I was younger.
His work of an inanimate object going after people and trying.
Especially that scene, Jesus fucking Christ, when the bucket was trying to eat his fucking ball sack. Looking back at it, it's like more funny than anything. But like back in the day when I was like a kid, teenager-ish, like it, ironically freaked me out. I don't know why. It just freaked me out to seeing this fucking video. I have no clue. Especially the soft sequel one with the phone. That one was more freaky as hell. Somehow, it was somehow more freaky to me.
Trying to murder them.
It's okay. I don't want to hurt you. I just want to suck on your ball.
Relatable.
We saw this, of course, with Mr. Bucket in Board James and in the countless instances throughout the AVGN series, whether it be Ernie or Rob the Robot. So to see it pop up here so early on in his filmmaking career, it's kind of funny. While it might not hold up as one of his best works, The Head Incident is still worth a look if you're interested in seeing his evolution as a creator. Otherwise, stay away. It's not really worth your time. 21 years later, James released The Head Returns as a sequel to the original film. The plot follows a psychiatrist who has spent 20 years...
Interesting. I didn't know he made a sequel. Probably just would have been before, because I haven't paid attention to Angry Billionaire in such a while. I'm actually glad that he's doing projects that he's having more fun with. Like, he should not like keep doing. I'm not sure if I'm not sure James Rolfe's a millionaire. He probably is. He made like a lot of money during his heyday, so like he's probably now like more interested in doing projects that he more wants to do instead of like Angry Video Gamer all the time. I hope he does. I hope he seems like much more like excited to see more stuff. He's much more excited to do other stuff than just keep doing Angry Video Gamer.
Locked in an asylum after being terrorized by a floating murderous ventriloquist dummy head. He is finally released only to realize that the Man in Black and the Head have returned, forcing him to confront the trauma he's been obsessed with for 2 decades. This project is so fascinating despite being a green screen nightmare. It really says a lot about who James is as a person. I think most people view their childhood home movies as cringy relics that should never, ever see the light of day. I mean, I definitely feel that way about my own projects, but James treats them as a legitimate part of his filmography. By making The Head Returns,
that is something I do admire. Most people will just look at their past stuff and like just cringe, but James actually like puts it on his resume and say, yeah, I made these when I was a kid. And you know what, good for him. The fact that he has that confidence to show his past stuff, especially when like his kids, especially when you're a kid, there's gonna be stuff that in those like short films or videos that are gonna be like dated and whatnot. Of course, there's going to. You were a kid when you made them. You have different interests now than you were back then. But like, I don't think you should like delete them. I don't think you should like get rid of them. Some people just want to get rid of them, and like, I don't know, you shouldn't like do that. It's just like, yeah, it's like part of your history. Just be proud of the fact that you made it. I don't know, that's personally my opinion. Like, I'm probably gonna look back at some of these reaction videos and some of these earlier videos that I made and cringe a little bit. I somewhat cringe at my older videos, but like at the end of the day, it kind of is what it is. That's how you learn as a content creator and how to build as like a person. Doesn't matter. Well, it doesn't matter if you're just a content creator. You're also like a filmmaker, a director, an artist, and like in general, like especially like you're just gonna look at your older stuff and go like, ew, gross, and like this is not great. It's like that's how you kind of learn. I kind of like seeing my old stuff, not to cringe at it, but like just to like look at it and go like, yeah, I can't believe I made that, especially back in the day. Wow, that's actually so interesting. Yeah, sure, there's some elements I wish I did better, but like it's kind of like part of your history. It's kind of how you grow as like a person.
As an adult who is married and has kids, he is retroactively turning a backyard hobby from when he was 19 into a legitimized film franchise. He gives the original 1999 footage the same reverence that a professional director might show a classic studio debut. He wants to tell the world that those early efforts were the start of a serious career, as opposed to just a bunch of friends messing around. Now, this mindset is all over Cinemassacre 200, which is one of my favorite videos that he's ever made, where he catalogs hundreds of recordings ranging from elaborate shorts to just childhood clips. And in that video, he gives all of them film numbers. He labels a video of himself playing with toys as a film. And that can come off as cringy, but it only adds to how compelling he is as a creator, since he refuses to see his past as a series of unrelated home videos. Rather, it's the literal DNA that got him to where he is today. Again, at this point, I'm doing nothing but playing armchair psychiatrist here. I mean, this is me over-analyzing his movies. I think it's clear that he has this need for validation, and it seems to come from a desire for order. James values the time that he spent on those early projects and hates the idea of them being dismissed just because they were shot on a cheap camcorder. When he revisits these stories now, he applies better lighting and more complex scripts to the same basic ideas that he was exploring as a kid. He is asserting that the vision was always there. Those movies are real movies, even when the gear was lacking. In short, this entire project to me reads as James connecting the dots of his life to ensure that nothing he ever created is lost or seen as a one-off mistake.
That's very respectable of James. I actually do respect James a lot more. The fact that he's not really embarrassed by some of these. He probably like embarrassed like some of them, like elements of them. But I'm actually glad he doesn't like delete them. He just kind of like keeps them. It's like, yeah, I made this when I was a kid. Obviously they're not the greatest and whatnot. Of course, it's never gonna be the greatest. You made it when you were a kid, and it's like that. I find that so admirable. Like, because there's times where like I just like, I don't know, I would just get rid of like stuff that I just don't appreciate or like, especially like artworks that I made. But I think now more recently, I went back to some of my old artwork and I was like, man, I can't believe I get rid of some of this stuff. This is actually like some good, at least all the stuff that I ended up keeping, like I thought it was good. And I was like, man, some of this stuff wasn't that great. I'm so like upset that I got rid of some of those old stuff, especially the fact that some of those are like memories. Some of them I did those when I was like a young, like a teenager or like a young kid, and the fact that I like accomplished that at like such a young age is kind of like impressive. Especially, yeah, it's kind of cool looking back at your older self. Yeah, I'm not older self, a younger self, and seeing like all like and seeing like how you progress since what you are now. Like some people are just embarrassed by that. I don't know. I used to been that, but like at this point, like now these days I'm more so I like going back to it. It kind of makes me feel like I'm progressing much more than I initially think I was. For that reason, I probably might go back and rewatch some of these like some of my older videos. Like this video probably might be one of my older videos, and I go like, man, that's cringy, but like especially all like the stuttering and whatnot. But like that's how you can progress as a content creator or like any artist. It's like you just keep going, then eventually you find something right. You find something that actually works, and you just keep going. Then yeah.
Until sleep tonight. Wearing any until 4 a.m. I'm gonna sleep for like 5 hours. Makeup.
2001's Cinemaphobia follows a protagonist who finds his physical reality eroding under the weight of cinematic tropes, beginning with the sudden appearance of boom mics and phantom film crews in his peripheral vision. He experiences a total breakdown of the private sphere, where a simple dinner of pizza is forced into a dramatic multi-angle sequence, and his own clothing spontaneously acquires the calculated grime of a wardrobe department. By the time he finds himself physically trapped within the literal frame of the image, the film has transitioned from a quirky character study into a claustrophobic horror piece about a man losing his autonomy to a medium that he no longer controls. This movie is so fascinating, and I think this is where we get to the point where his movies are actually watchable now, and they're actually quality. This movie specifically operates as a sharp satire of the specific frustrations inherent to independent horror production. Rolfe inserts a movie within a movie titled Zombie Slayer 2 to mock the aesthetic failures of the genre, highlighting the amateurish acting and the constant technical blunders that plague sets with no budget.
The sun's going to be going down soon, and we don't have enough time to set up another scene, so let's just call it a night. We'll be here usual time, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Rolfe uses this premise to explore.
Interesting. I probably might have to go back. I probably might watch some of those, especially how just to see this feeling like the experience to see like how see like a time before James Rolfe was a creator, like what eventually like what kind of led up to it, especially like some of these older stuff. Like they probably might be not that as watchable, but at least like he's proud of the fact that it's good that he uploaded them, because it's good to see like a creator's like it's kind of like their filmography before they became popular, and see like how much they progress. I think it's good to document it.
Or a genuine sensory overload caused by obsessive media consumption and creation. The protagonist suffers because he has lost the ability to exist in a world that isn't being recorded, staged, or edited for an invisible audience. As a content creator myself, I definitely related to that, where every little thing I do might have the opportunity to be content, and I can just film it and then release it as a video. And this is 2001, this is before YouTube. He was really ahead of his time with this commentary.
Whoa, James, what are you doing? Why is that random guy there? James, you gotta announce, especially with the mustache. You got the mustache again. James, do you have a little boyfriend right here? Ooh, James, he's gone woke, guys. He's gone woke. Oh.
Cinemaphobia suggests that once you begin to view your daily life through the structural requirements of a script, the authentic self disappears entirely. The horror of the finale lies in the realization that there is no off switch for this perspective, as he becomes a permanent resident of the celluloid, proving that a life lived entirely through the lens eventually turns the person into nothing more than a prop. And I feel like I just have to mention this, but we again get an inanimate object coming to life and going after the protagonist. Again. 2001's It Came from the Toilet might not sound like an essential entry.
What? It came from the toilet? What? What kind of title is that?
In film history, but it's what I consider to be the true foundation of the poop-centric humor that would later define the Angry Video Game Nerd series. Long before he would ever take a dump on Bugs Bunny's head, there was this charmingly crude short. It stars a very young...
Hey, Mike Patay. I know Mike Patay. I also remember the time where he took a picture of his dick and posted on Reddit just to debunk a theory. That was also a thing he did. Well, that was goofy. That was goofy as all hell.
Mike Matei, who finds himself face to face with a literal turd monster. That's the plot. That's the whole movie. But I think what makes this movie more than just a juvenile gag is the way that the monster's grotesque movements take on an almost absurdist life of their own. There's one sequence where the creature seeps out of the bathroom and begins to fill the hallway of the apartment building, not unlike that famous scene from The Blob. It's almost surreal watching this slimy mess spread across the floor, a parody of a classic 1950s creature feature that's as gross as it is oddly mesmerizing. And it's like, this is literally poop. That's the joke. But my favorite moment...
Jesus Christ. It's literally a monster, but it's a giant turd. More like diarrhea, more so, technically, because it's taken form of a liquid type.
from this entire short film is the very creative shot where the turd appears to climb up the side of a building. I didn't think those were words I would ever say in a video, but here we are. You do realize that it's just a trick of the camera where it's filmed upside down and it's actually just moving down and then they flip. Whatever, you get it. It's low-budget filmmaking at its finest, where imagination trumps any and all resources, and you can't help but admire the DIY spirit of it all. One thing that really elevates this short is the fact that it was shot on 16mm film. Now, in today's digital world, that might not seem like a big deal, but there's something about shooting on film that gives even the most absurd content an extra layer of significance. Film has a way of making even the most ridiculous ideas feel a little more important, like they're part of some underground cult cinema legacy, and maybe in its own strange way, It Came from the Toilet is exactly that. Personally, I love watching movies shot on film, even if it's as ridiculous as this. So going from all this digital cinematography to something as fantastic as 16mm film, I'll take what I can get.
The adventures of this rebel.
That's cool. I do like that. Again, like, I think a lot of the problems, like, in modern days AVGN, it says there's so much fucking green screen. It's like always this fucking green screen. And it just looks so fake and dumb. And I always prefer when he actually records regularly, especially on a set. But I guess it's kind of like it kind of is what it is, unfortunately. I guess recording on a green screen is much more easier to do than recording, like, on a set and whatnot.
Have only begun. He still has the rest of the universe to explore in his never-ending journey to boldly go where no alien kung fu werewolf has gone before.
Kung Fu Werewolf from Outer Space is exactly what the title said.
Kung Fu Werewolf from Outer Space. Ooh. Kung Fu Panda, but it says the pandas of werewolf and it goes to outer space. Ooh.
It's a 26-minute long martial arts horror mashup that James made during a college winter break in 2001. The story follows a lonely gay sensei who is an outcast in his small town.
What the fuck?
He eventually finds an alien to train in kung fu, but the alien is then bitten by a werewolf, leading to a series of low-budget fight scenes. It ends with the alien returning to space as a martial arts master werewolf hybrid, while the sensei gives up karate to join the circus. It's basically a kitchen sink movie. He liked kung fu, werewolves, and he liked the idea of sci-fi, so he put them all in a blender to see if they'd stick. And it weirdly works for the most part. This movie functions as a direct roadmap for the creative habits that Rolfe developed throughout his career. He approached the absurd premise of an alien werewolf learning karate with a total lack of irony. There's this level of sincerity that I just really appreciate, and I think that same tone carries over to the angry video game nerd. Something else I've noticed is that a lot of his protagonists consistently appear as isolated eccentrics who remain misunderstood by their surrounding society. The sensei character fits this archetype by living as a hermit who only finds connection through niche interests. It just makes you wonder if he's really speaking from the heart there, and he relates to a lot of his characters in that way, especially as we move into the next couple films where you see a lot more of James and the films keep getting better and better. In 2003's Curse of the Cat Lover's Grave, a young man wanders out to a pet cemetery to pay his...
What the hell? Curse of the Cat Lover's Grave. Ooh.
Respects. But things...
What does he do to the cat? Does he eat it? Does he eat the cat? That would be kind of base. That would be kind of cool.
Go south once he starts poking around them.
I'm just kidding. I like cats too. I was just making a joke.
Property. He runs into a creepy figure with a shovel and ends up trapped in a basement where the vibe goes from an unsettling chiller to a flat-out gory splatter flick. When watching this film, and especially listening to the commentary track from its director, James comes across as the kind of guy who will make a movie happen even if the world is actively trying to stop him. He's the clear ringleader, and you can tell his friends are willing to go through hell or high water just to make his vision seen.
If he would have been stabbed in that shirt, the shirt would have been all bloody and then useless, and we needed the shirt still for another scene. So we're like, okay, how about he just takes the shirt off for no apparent reason? Your eyes look tired.
But it's so great. It's like Bruce Lee, like, dude.
Yeah.
That's fucking great.
And Gary's every expression Gary makes, look at those. It's like,
I like that. That's the most asinine one to do.
it's like you're like the best at bad acting.
Oh, thank you.
I found myself really liking this movie because it showcases his creative process as a wild mix of careful planning and total improvisation. He's a massive fan of the happy accident. If an actor accidentally falls and hurts themselves, James just keeps the camera rolling and puts it in the movie because...
Sounds like a very Bob Ross-esque person. He seems like a very Bob Ross-esque person. Happy little accidents. If it happens, it happens. We just incorporate in the movie. Fuck it, why not? Yeah, I'm a little bit like that, but I'm also like, I try not to, because, you know, if you can, unfortunately, some people are not willing to have accidents. Some people it needs to be perfect. There cannot be any mistakes, which is just like, I don't know, it's just bizarre, but it is what it is, I guess.
Because he wants the footage to feel real, even if the plot is ridiculous.
Oh, by the way, what's really interesting...
Which is a good thing I make YouTube videos, because I don't need to follow a boss's rules. I am my own boss, and obviously my videos, I'm not going to say they're perfect. Again, I also do reaction videos, so they're not going to make the greatest. Especially, this is my third reaction. It's not going to be the greatest. And yeah, and maybe my commentary won't be the best. It probably be a little bit like, man, there might be some good commentary, there might be some bad commentary, there might be some times where I just stutter a little bit because I'm struggling to communicate sometimes, because I'm not used to this format. I'm more used to staying on top of like a script or something. I'm not used to record myself on the fly, but it's a good try on error. It's a good try on error, especially the fact that if you want to be consistent as a content creator, you want to publish more often. You gotta be consistent and keep grinding. Keep grinding.
The grounds that this was shot on was actually a pet cemetery at one time. Everybody in the neighborhood used to bury all their dead pets back there.
It smelled like it. It smelled like fucking manure. That's what it smelled like.
This movie was actually shot on 16mm film. Again, much like it came from the toilet, which...
Oh, that's good. That seems cool.
Is a rarity for James, I should state. This isn't really the standard. James is someone who has been a very early champion of shooting on digital. In fact, he did shoot some of this on digital because he had a second camera operating as a backup in case anything happened to the 16mm film.
Yeah, and this was shot on film, 16mm, but 400 feet came back black. Remember the day when we looked at that? Like, it was just like,
I think
black.
we just looked at that film and it was black, but luckily, man, you didn't trust film at all. You know, you just went straight with the video.
Yeah, I shot video as well as film. Yeah.
Film was a total piece of shit, right?
That's a good idea to have like a spare camera. You don't want to like you don't want to ruin your your good camera, especially. It's good to have like an extra just in case.
Genuinely impressive student film. I actually hadn't ever seen it before prior to marathoning all of these, but there's a lot to love. James actively leans more into the humor near the third act, and I just can't help but think about AVGN, especially the horror comedy Halloween specials. In 2004's Legend of the Blue Hole, a college student named Jason becomes obsessed with a local urban legend about a supposedly bottomless pool in the New Jersey Pine Barrens. After a classroom presentation where he's mocked for his interest in UFOs and the paranormal, he visits a strange antique shop and meets an old man who gives him a map to the Blue Hole. Despite warnings and his own growing dread, Jason treks into the woods, crosses a freezing river, and finally finds the pool. The story takes a Twilight Zone-style twist when Jason is pulled into the water only to wake up decades in the past, realizing he is destined to become the old man who sends his younger self to the hole, trapping him in an endless time loop. The commentary track for this movie is really funny, because James just sounds like he is so relieved to be done with this project.
Hello, I'm James Rolfe, and this was my senior film for college.
Why do you not like making this movie? I mean, it seems like very interesting.
I haven't really distanced myself from it yet, so right now I'm honestly kind of sick of looking at it because I just worked my brains out and I just graduated.
That's honestly kind of fair. I kind of feel James on this. There's some pieces I work on art. I don't work on like film. I don't want to specify exactly, but there's art pieces that I worked on that I was like, I'm so done after this. Like, I've been working on this for like a month straight. I've been grinding to hell, and I just need to be over. I just don't like. I'm just tired of it. There's some pieces I love. I genuinely love making. There's some pieces that I just can't stand making. But that's how you get better, even with the bad ones. Yeah, like, keep going.
All right.
He uses this movie to deal with a genuine phobia of deep water, which makes the whole thing feel more like a personal.
Oh, really? Yeah, phobia of deep water. Interesting. I didn't know about that. I didn't know about that. Or maybe I just forgot because it's been so long. It's been so long since I paid attention to. I watched like a James Rolfe video or a Cinemassacre video, AVGN or whatever.
Therapy session than a school assignment. He's clearly felt like the odd one out for a long time. We see this in his movies where the protagonist is very frequently a loner.
My friend Gina from Boston was visiting the South Jersey area near where I live, and she gave me a spontaneous call one day and said she was looking for this place called the Blue Hole. I never heard of it, so she told me what it was. And I was at work at the time, so I couldn't join her, but I gave her a call that night, and she didn't answer her cell phone. In fact, I never heard from her again for another 2 weeks, and I was actually pretty scared for a moment that, she could have died back there. So I did a bunch of research on the place, and I went searching for it to see if it was real. And I actually had nightmares, too, so of course there's a nightmare scene in the movie.
James shot this movie on a Panasonic DVX-100, which was the first affordable camera to mimic the 24 frames per second look of film. This is the same camera model that was used to shoot the first couple seasons of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, as well as 2005's The Puffy Chair. 2005's The Deader the Better is, in my opinion, the best short film that James has ever made. The premise is super simple. It follows two cemetery workers, Lloyd and Earl, who spend every night dispatching the undead rising from their graves.
I'll get it when I'm finished with this.
You better do it before the brains dry. They're all over the tombstone.
Lloyd is the veteran who views the work with a detached.
This film looks nice. Like, seeing the visuals, this looks so much interesting. Seeing like some of this older stuff, like, really, like, goes to show like how talented James Rolfe really is. Like, and it kind of sucks that nowadays that he kind of reduced himself as just like angry video gamer now. Like, I hope he does like other different stuff. He seems like he's doing more different stuff, and I hope he does continue it and just keep doing AVGN. That he clearly is just not passionate about it anymore, which is understandable. He's been doing it for like 20 years, more than 20 years actually. I think like he technically started like 2004. The series in 2004, and then like the series got transferred to YouTube, and he's just been grinding ever since. And like at this point, like, just retire the series at this point. Like, it's like you're past your prime now. You should just like experiment a little bit. You probably are like a millionaire by now.
Brutal sense of perspective, while Earl is the more sensitive newcomer struggling with the lack of respect shown to the corpses. Their ideological clash over whether to treat the bodies with dignity or as garbage is interrupted when a massive wave of zombies forces them to stop arguing and start fighting. After clearing the initial surge, they retreat to a tool shed to gear up for a final stand. The film ends with a cynical monologue about the monotony of their existence, punctuated by a final comedic kill where Lloyd uses a car's power window to decapitate a zombie. James uses this 2005 short to plant a flag in the world of practical effects and digital effects. It operates with a palpable reverence for the tactile splatter found in early Sam Raimi or Peter Jackson films. Every exploding head and blood-soaked tombstone feels like a deliberate rejection of the digital polish that was starting to take over independent horror at the time. He focuses heavily on the mechanics of the gore, showing a filmmaker who finds more satisfaction in the engineering of a physical blood rig than in complex camera movements. But at the same time, the film is black and white, and the blood is red. He used digital effects to achieve that look. So it's interesting that while
I always like that look. I like the black and white look with like only like the red parts are just in color. I think that's so like a good it's such a cool visual style in my opinion. It's giving me like a very much like a noir-esque look. I really like it. I really like this style. It obviously like reflects into within my art as well. I really like this style a lot.
He obviously loves practical effects. He still uses digital CGI to really make them pop more and enhance those effects. I also really like how James approaches the zombie genre through the lens of a blue-collar worker, which I think grounds the supernatural absurdity in a very cynical way, but it works. I love how the banter between Lloyd and Earl has this worldview around it where this job is just so mundane, and yet they're killing the undead.
Just destroy the brain and bring them down in the most efficient manner.
I think I made pretty efficient work of that last one. If you get off your skinny ass and go take a look.
Honestly, this perspective feels personal to James. It shows the burnout that he clearly was dealing with of being a video editor in the mid-2000s, spending long work hours in pure isolation. In his book, The Movie Making Nerd, he talked a lot about how he was editing safety videos, and it wasn't exactly the best job for him. I'm sure at this time, he wanted to reflect that. He was very likely working around blue-collar guys and wanted to make a movie that took that type of personality and put them in something he loves, like a zombie movie. Overall, I am very impressed by this short film, and
I should probably read that book. I haven't read his book, A Movie Making Nerd. I should probably read it. I do want to go back into like relearning some of James' older stuff. Now watching this video, I do want to like experience some of the old stuff because I haven't like watched an Angry Video Nerd video in so long. So I kind of want to go back and deep dive some of his older stuff and see like how he kind of became like the Angry Video Nerd, and even like revisit some of his older videos because I do really like. I like AVG, especially like his golden age. Again, like even after his golden age, I think there's still some videos like worth reminding, especially like his Earthbound video and his Majora's Mask video, where it's like some of his best, at least in like the modern age. Well, maybe not the modern because now those videos are a little bit older now. I think they're like 9 years ago now or something like that. I don't remember. Point is, like those, I kind of consider like part of like the new age, and there's still like. I think those videos pretty much hold up, even after like kind of like all the controversy and whatnot.
And wanted to make a movie that took that type of personality and put them in something he loves, like a zombie movie. Overall, I am very impressed by this short film, and I just think that the sheer work ethic alone to pull off this mess of practical effects on a DIY budget should be commended. Like I said, I think it's one of his best. I really do.
You didn't need to hit him so many times.
I only hit it once. There wasn't even anything left for a second hit.
2010's The Dragon in My Dreams feels like the closest we've ever gotten to the real James Rolfe. It's a quiet, reflective documentary filmed as he approached age 30, following him on a search for the physical source of his earliest memories. Spurred on by a recurring childhood nightmare, James tracks down the New Jersey park where a specific dragon-shaped sprinkler once stood.
I actually probably remember this a lot more. I remember watching a video about like how like he went to a park. He went to like a park during like his very youth. Like he barely remembers, but he remembers seeing this sea monster statue at like a park. I think I remember watching. It's been like so long again. Like I'm sorry that I'm probably sounding like I'm yapping, but like it's been like a forever since I paid attention to James Rolfe's content career, but I really like James Rolfe. I like his content. It's just like you kind of go through like a phase where like you just kind of like get tired of a certain like thing. Doesn't matter if it's a content career or a piece of like media or IP, and you just kind of just get a little exhausted. And you're like, no, I'm gonna take a break a little bit. I'm gonna take a break, unfortunately. I'm not resonating with it. I'm going to go consume something else instead and obsess over something else. And then I will just come back to it later and probably have like a found new like nostalgia feeling for it. And I would just love to go revisit some of the old stuff that I used to love back in the day.
Terrified him as a kid, and now as an adult, in a stroke of pure cinematic luck, he arrives on the very day the playground is being demolished, finding the fiber.
Damn. Wow. Damn. He just in the nick of time. Oh, that sounds weird. Whatever. Wow. Damn. Just in time. He managed to find it before it got demolished. Wow. Damn.
Fiberglass Beast.
Sorry guys, I was interrupted. Now we're gonna get back into watching the video. Carry on.
Arrives on the very day the playground is being demolished, finding the fiberglass beast sitting discarded in the dirt. This movie is so telling as to who James Rolfe is as a person. It captures his unique internal logic with the perspective of someone who, in the best way possible, never really outgrew his childhood bedroom. I know, rich coming from me. You see, at this point in his life, he had...
Yep, same here. I never outgrew my childhood bedroom. I still keep it to this day.
Reached the milestone of having made 300 films, which seems to have triggered a loop in his creative brain. It sent him on a hunt for a literal landmark of his toddler-era fears. To James, his career isn't some corporate ladder or a path to professional growth, but rather a lifelong attempt to master the same monsters that kept him awake as a kid. Even if you look at AVGN, he views the world with a sort of sentimental animism, treating a piece of rusted playground equipment like a spiritual collaborator that gave him his entire visual language, or an...
Interesting. Yeah. Looking back at my life, I start to realize, like, there's obviously you're gonna have stuff that you're not your best moments, but like I kind of go back even to some like the worst moments and go like, wow, I kind of have a little bit of nostalgia for and whatnot. Obviously, there's some stuff I'm embarrassed, and obviously you're gonna have stuff that you're embarrassed of. I'm not gonna go specify exactly which ones, but like even like some of the more embarrassing ones, some of the embarrassing, like less embarrassing ones, I kind of look back, it's like, wow, actually that's a little bit have like a little bit of a fondness towards it. It's like, wow, it kind of feels a little bit innocent. There's like a little bit of innocence, and it kind of builds. It builds character. It builds some kind of character into you, and you can learn from your mistakes, your past mistakes from, and carry it out in your future and whatnot, or your present.
NES cartridge that he would go on to use to build an entire career out of. And at this point in time, he had been doing the nerd for around, I want to say, 6 years. His relentless output of content, especially...
Interesting. He probably be like 2012 probably, or 2011. I don't remember.
Especially at this point in time, comes across as a form of self-directed therapy. Whether he was using audio cassettes or photo albums, the camera always acted as a shield, helping him put horror into perspective.
It's time to say goodbye to the past.
He looked a little chubby in that. He looks a little chubby in this video. Look a little chubby. I could tell in the face.
Time to move forward and create those movies of my dreams. Because dreams are where it all started.
4 years after the release of The Dragon in My Dreams, James would finally reach his ultimate filmmaking milestone with the release of the Angry Video Game Nerd movie. However, a project of that scale, from its crowdfunding roots to its Hollywood production, truly deserves a video of its own. I should mention that this film is...
Yeah, the Angry Video Game Nerd movie was kind of a huge disappointment. I don't know. I don't think he should have done Angry Video Game Nerd as like a movie. He should have just did something original, something unique. Instead, I understand like brand-wise, like you want people to come watch your movie, but like, I don't know, to me, I feel like it was much better an idea to like do something different, like a whole original idea. Maybe like remake some of your older films, then short films, then like do a weird movie, Angry Video Game Nerd. I don't think Angry Video Game Nerd could work as like a film. It's definitely a series that fits within like YouTube. It's not a series that can fit as a movie. Like, especially the fact that Angry Video Nerd, it's probably like the prime example of like what a web series or like a YouTube series is. It's kind of like the prime example, and like taking it out of its medium, it just feels strange. Doesn't feel right, especially with all the copyrighted stuff that you have to deal with, like with a film and whatnot, especially all the deals like Nintendo or like Sega and like Atari or whatnot.
Notoriously been a copyright magnet on YouTube, so when I do tackle it, I'll have to be pretty creative with how I show clips to keep the channel safe.
Yeah, you have to be very careful with that.
On the feature film, there is still the massive, sprawling catalog of the Angry Video Game Nerd episodes, the annual tradition of Monster Madness, and the interconnected lore of board games, all of which I could totally see myself covering in the future in their own retrospective videos.
You should do that. It would be so cool, especially like board games. Board games, I think it's much more interesting as a concept. I think a lot of people did retrospectives on Angry Video Game Nerd a lot. I don't see like a whole lot of retrospectives for board games, so I think board games will be like a really cool concept for like a video one day. But I can understand why he probably Firewood Media probably wants to do AVGN, because that's James Rolfe's most popular series. That's his literally like the thing that people come for.
So, if that interests you, let me know down below in the comments and subscribe. And with all that out of the way, I'm Cole McCormick, you're watching Firewood Media. Big thank you to channel members for making videos like these possible. For $1.99 a month.
Alright, that's his video. Thank you for watching this video. Go check out Firewood Media. Go check out his video. Go check him out. He's a good content creator. He makes a lot of good stuff. I already reacted to his Chris Stuckman video, so if you haven't seen his Chris Stuckman video, go watch that. You can also go watch my reaction towards it. I recommend mostly go watch the original videos first before you go watch my reaction, because it's probably, you should give him the love because he makes some really good content, especially he's doing more commentary-esque videos. These kind of videos are not really like, I don't know, I don't think of them much as like commentary all that much, because I don't know, maybe because how I view commentary is a little different. I kind of view it as like more so like drama related. But these videos are much more, I like these retrospectives. These are very, very well made and well done. And yeah, this is me, this is LizardBrains, and I'm signing out. Peace.